not racing now, would not be running, but look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, how lucky am I today?
You don't really know who you are or what you are until you put a really big challenge in front of you.
Fear is an asset and ally here to help you be magnificent.
This crazy, silly, stupid idea to run across the Sahara Desert.
You did make it this time, but you said if you didn't make it, you would try again and again.
Everybody's connected to nature, connected to music, to their families, and now we're going to build a world that doesn't have racism and war and starving kids.
I kept telling myself, run at it, and just keep smiling.
Thanks, Meb. So I just wanted to, like I said, chat with you today, now that we got the audio working, to help provide some insight to our members who are listening to this right now, and many people in this country who are going through a challenging time for a lot of different reasons, to see what insight you might be able to share with people about going through a challenging time. And so I'm wondering if you can think of a time, whether it's in running or otherwise, that was, especially challenging for you, where you learned a lesson that you are drawing from in these challenging times that you might be able to share with us.
Well, Gene, thanks again for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and the rest of the audience on your podcast. Challenges always facing, whether it's daily, monthly, yearly, it happens. It's like almost like a marathon or getting ready. A marathon's a metaphor for life. You got to be patient. You got to make progress, but you can't say, I got to tackle 26 miles today. No, you got to train right. You got to train smart and watch out for things that you can control. Sometimes you can't control the temperature or rain or traffic, but you got, I'm going to run 6 miles, and within that, hopefully develop to 10 to 12 and ultimately 26.2 miles. So do what you can control, and other things you can, and you just can't, as long as you're making progress. So having said that, I think injuries happen. I have encountered numerous of injuries, where it's a pelvic stress fracture, 2 ruptured quads, and this is in the middle of my peak careers. And 2007, when I didn't make after winning a silver medal and getting second in New York, third in Boston, you think you can win the trials and go to the 2008 Beijing Olympic trials. But unfortunately, I finished 8th place, and mentally, physically, and emotionally, I was done. And at the same time, when you don't make the Olympic team, there's try to make a comeback and try to make the 10K team, but that's not always guaranteed. And when you don't make the Olympic team, there's some serious contractual reduction on your contract. At the time, I was a Nike athlete, so if I don't make it, I got to think, how am I going to do other things to improve or do better so you don't get reduced? But now I'm going to the Olympic, you're going to get reduced. Just try to make it a lot more less than the percentage they're going to reduce. So financially, it can be a hindrance. And as people are going through right now, with COVID-19 and with the Black Lives Matter protesting and all that stuff, not everybody are at ease, with everything. So those are the situations, but we could only do what we control. And I'm not anti-protesting for the Black Lives Matters. You got to do it right, communicate, understanding, and hopefully work together to improve progress. Like an injuries happen, disappointment happen, but progress, as long as you're making progress. And, I always say 50% of the solution is knowing the problem. If you know the problem, you can work with people and surround yourself with good people or doctors or people who are at a high government level that can help make laws, make it hopefully even playing field. And those are the problems and solutions you have to resolve and discuss. And you might not get it right away, but this is a marathon also. You got to pace yourself, and you would like immediately, but that's almost like doping, it can happen overnight, and everything takes time. So as long as you're making the right progress and do the right things, and things will be, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I'm trying to say. But
yeah. Well, I want to push on that a little bit. So a lot of times people, one of the reasons that I started doing marathons is because I wanted to teach myself how to overcome challenges. and I wanted to teach myself grit. I wanted to develop my own resilience. And I would say that it's helped me in some ways, but I also found that the marathon metaphor was really, it fell short when I started to experience real challenges in life. You know, fortunately, growing up, I didn't really experience very many truly difficult challenges. But, you know, once I started my own business and having a family, like you start to have like real life challenges. And I found that the marathon metaphor didn't work for me because, you know, in a marathon, it's like a challenge that you're seeking out. Like you decide 6 months in advance, I want to run this marathon, probably, and you train for it over time. You set a goal and you're working towards that goal. And then in the race itself, there's no kind of decisions to make. You just keep going in the same direction as everybody else. And eventually you're going to get to the finish line. It might hurt and you might get to a part that you want to quit, but as long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you're going to get there. And I found that wasn't really the case with a lot of like life's real challenges, because, you know, life's real challenges are not challenges that like I sought out. You know, they kind of come upon you. They're unexpected, and it's not something that you want to experience. It's not like a goal that I was setting for myself. And also the solution wasn't as simple as just following the crowd, because the crowd wasn't all moving. You know, there was no crowd to follow. Now, to some extent with COVID, I find that I do feel like we're in like a marathon with 40,000 other people all moving in the same direction, because we're all kind of going through the same thing right now. But there doesn't seem to be a finish line in sight. It's not 26 miles. It's going to be over in 4 hours. Like, we don't know if we're at mile 2 or if we're at mile 20. You know, most of the smart people I talk to say that we're at mile 2. But how do you, like, I guess my question there is, like, you know, you mentioned some things that you can control, some things you can't control. You had injuries. So when you have like this unexpected challenge come to you, like an injury or circumstances that you can't control that throw a wrench into your plans, what are the things that you do to deal with those types of challenges?
That's a valid question. I think we use it maybe loosely to say marathons are a metaphor for life, but not everybody's going to the finish. You have to understand also. You might have prepared the best that you can and get to that finish line. And if you're hurting, you might slow down and then get to that finish because you know how many 6 miles to go. I think I could do it. And in real life, you might say, I think you can do it. You know, whatever the situation is, you might have to change of course, that nobody has travel. Mm-hmm. But you know that's the best thing for you. It's just like kind of almost like a training program. So I'm not sure whose training program you have used, but it's not always there's one training program for a marathon. There's numerous of ones. And whatever suits you, your personality, that is, will help you be the best that you can, or how long you've been running. There's no one size fits all for a marathon. There's no size fits all for life. But you can do your research and say, hey, this suits me where I am in my point of my life right now. One of my biggest pep talk is be in the moment. And the moment you are in, sometimes including myself, you said, you know, you can go 26. I know the London Marathon was 26.2, but I was struggling with Achilles injuries. And at that point I have to say, I have the Olympic trials coming up in November 2008. And, you know, when you hear about Achilles, if it's going to snap, it's done. It's the end of a career. So I have to make a decision to say, even though I could have walked it, I could have finished it wobbling, but that's not the best thing for me. Mm-hmm. As life can throw you a curveball or surprise, and you have to say, well, I wish everybody's going this way and everybody paid off that way, and now I am here. So you have to divert a little bit to just say, hey, let me make this decision. Hopefully, you don't know, there's no guarantee, but you have to be kind of experimental on your own to say, hey, you might get little bumps in the road. It's not going to be, hey, I made the decision. It should be straight out, direct, good answer. That's never the case. As a marathon, it's not guaranteed also. So you have to adjust and believe that when you make those decisions, you consult as a coach is, or as in life, or if you're going through business, you got to consult somebody who's a business savvy, or if you're consulting about children, you have to talk about somebody who has raised children. You can't go to somebody who doesn't have kids. So you have to modify that, but believe that, hey, I'm trying. And I think what a marathon does is, if I can overcome this challenge, I can overcome almost every challenge. It doesn't mean guarantee. And I include myself, I've done 26 marathons, as my book is, but I only won 3 of them. But I have learned from each experiences what to do, what not to do. And sometimes I didn't have my best day, but I believe internally that I can do it. Just like 2007. I mean, mentally, emotionally, and physically, I was depleted. There's nothing left. But I believe that what I was doing in training will pay off eventually. So I could have retired. I already had silver medal. I had American record, national titles, but I knew internally that my gift was not done yet. So therefore I prayed about it, and I saw 50 doctors and it took me about 1.5 years of therapy. Not only, 26.2, if you master it, it should be, for me was 2 hours and change. For somebody it might be 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. It's done in a day. But life is not that way. High school is not done in 1 year. You got to go 4 years, and you have to do the right credentials. College is not done in 2 years, even though you wish. You got to take the prerequisite and then your specialty. So there's a finish line. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. But with life as well, it's not as a slam dunk. There are going to be surprises. There are going to be curveballs. But you rather just be prepared to the best you can. Also, surround yourself with good people and believe in the thing that you're making daily progress. You go in the right direction versus saying the other way around.
So there's a few things in there that I picked up on. You talked about being in the moment. You talked about consulting other people and getting help. I think that those are two things I'd like to dig a little bit deeper on. But before we get back into those things, just again to kind of push the marathon metaphor and kind of test it a little bit. I also thought, like when I started to do marathons, I want to do this because if I can do a marathon, I can do anything. And then I started, I jumped into triathlons, and I was like, well, I can do a marathon, I can do a triathlon. And then I realized, no, that's not true. I need to learn how to swim and ride a bike. Just because I can run a marathon doesn't mean I can do a triathlon. And I still didn't learn the lesson because I thought to myself, well, if I can do an Ironman, I can do anything. And then again, I realized that that's not true, because just because I know how to run, swim, and bike doesn't mean that I know how to run a business or be a father or handle the coronavirus. Like I'm having a hard time, not in some ways I'm also applying lessons that I've learned from that to what we're going through now. But I've had a hard time like translating the metaphor into these kind of unforeseeable challenges. And I am trying to draw like the right lessons from the things that I've done physically into how to handle the challenges that we're going through now. So when you talk about being in the moment, what are some of the things that you do to be in the moment? And what if the moment really sucks?
Other question, I'll tell you a perfect example that my race was sucking and really having a tough time. But, I get a lot of questions. How difficult is the Boston Marathon versus the New York City Marathon? They're 26.2 miles. Some of them, Boston might be downhill. New York might be uphill toward the end. But Boston is the middle of the, up to mile 21 or so, Heartbreak Hill. But what I tell is you're the same person, the same training that you have done. So no matter how big I'm going to read here, don't forget that the same body doing the same activities. Yes, the platform is higher, but it is not like you should suddenly double up your workouts and training. You just got to do whatever got you for that 26 point to the pass to get you to the Boston or get to the New York or your first one. It is not, I'm not saying don't dream big or willing to work hard, but keep it simple, effective, and within your means. Saying that, you talked about triathlon, I got to do this, and there's a system. If I could swim, bike, and run, I can get it done. But preparation is the key to life. I think if you prepare somewhat, but like you said, this is unprecedented, like COVID-19. We never went through COVID-19 rehearsal or preparation like in school or in business or in the marathon. But what I love about marathon is, especially in New York, I've done it 11 times competitively. When I won New York, I got on the back, there was a script. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. So for self-confidence, words are powerful. You have to believe those things. And you said, wow, I won New York, the biggest marathon in the world. I think I could win Boston. I think I could win another medal for our country. So when I went to the 2012 Olympic Games, I was having it sucked. I was having a tough day. But to your point, I said, be in the moment. I want to drop out. And never, people often ask me, do you enjoy the way you run? Absolutely not. I'm more competitive and see what they're doing, what route I should do, the tangent and things like that. But that day, I think it was Cathedral or St. Joseph or something. I'm like, this would be a good place to stop, save my energy, save my body that I was aching and the wound and blister that I was dealing with, and get ready for New York. But then I looked down and I looked at the USA jersey. How many people would love to be in my position? Just like your situation right now. I don't know your situation, but hopefully nobody of your family or friends had COVID-19. Hopefully they beat it if they did, and others are, they didn't get it. Because sometimes we think, oh, we have it bad, we have it that. But how about those people that we lost? Thousands and thousands of people. So we are a little better off than the family that went through that example. So you have to put yourself in a situation and say, yeah, this thing sucks, this thing hurts, but we have to think of the glass as half full instead of half empty. And going back to our 2012 Olympic Games, my goal was to be top 3 or top 10. I was 21st place at 30 mile, and I said, there's no point of going forward because I'm not getting my goals. I want to throw the towel. But then I thought, the USA jersey, no matter how many people pass you, you're going to get to that finish line. So positive thinking in the moment is important. And I had my daughters and family, brothers and sisters and parents at the finish line. I said, if I'm going to preach to my daughters, get the best out of yourself. Is that my best stopping? That got me even another motive to keep going. And amazingly, now you have to set goals accordingly to the mile by mile instead of saying top 10 or top 3 was the goal that I was thinking. That's not going to happen. I was 21st place. And eventually I just decided to go, be a competitive. God, please help me get to that second group, because I don't know how many 20 other guys are ahead of me, which ones or who they are. But I said, okay, let's make a progress. I was 17, I was 13, and all of a sudden with 5K to go, my coach Bob Larson pointed out 6 fingers. And I'm like, wow, this is happening. I was, competitive within competition. And then with 5K, with the 500 meters to go, I saw a guy struggling, and Dos Santos, eventually two-time New York City Marathon champion. I said, he hit the wall like I did in the past. So I said, I have to get him, because for whatever reason, I don't know who's in the lead. If one of them gets tested positive with drugs, I want to be the person that moved from 4th to 3rd. I'm thinking that during the race with 1K to go or with the 500 meters to go. But amazingly, I beat him. I passed him with 500 meters to go. I grabbed our flag and came over. I didn't win a medal, but I did get finished in the top 10, and I finished 4th. And it gave me great pride that says, imagine if I had dropped out at that race, I would not have been invited. You don't know what it's going to lead to. It led to the invitation to the Boston Marathon for the 2013, and then I was injured and ran it, but then it led to the 2014 Boston Marathon, which I eventually kind of know what I'm known for, winning the Boston Marathon the year after the bombing. So you never know what you're going to encounter. I wish I had the crystal ball like everybody else and say when it's going to be over, but you just do the best that you can now and hope for the best, and always under promise, over deliver. You can't say I'm going to do this, and that's what marathon say, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get 26. If you're not patient, if you don't pace yourself, you're going to shoot yourself on the back.
You said a lot. There was a lot that you said in there, so I just want to make sure that I'm hearing it and that other people are hearing it too. You talked about pacing yourself, doing your best and hoping for the best. I really love what you said about looking down at your jersey and saying to yourself, how many people would love to be in my position right now? Yeah. And, that's something, certainly that a metaphor that I think does apply to what we're going through right now. Like, as bad as we might think that we each have it right now, and a lot of us may be having it really bad, you can always just look down at your own jersey and think about how many other people would be so lucky to be in your position right now. So that's definitely worth meditating on for a second. And then the other thing that I think that you said that I heard that I thought was so powerful was you were thinking about what is the story that you want to be able to tell to your daughters about what you did in that moment of truth. And that's something that really resonates with me, because when, in early March, when the lockdown started happening, I got very scared and almost depressed. And I didn't know what to do, but I thought to myself, what is going to be the story that I tell to my son about how I reacted to this moment? All of the training that I've done, all the physical stuff I've done, whatever, like I've been training for this moment, and how I react now is going to be the story that I have for the rest of my life. And, you know, it's something that I think about every day. Like, I want to make sure that with this challenge that I'm able to tell myself and my son a good story, no matter what happens. I don't know what's going to happen, but I want to make sure that I'm able to tell myself and my son a good story about how I reacted to this time. So I think I love how you said that you thought about what you're going to tell your daughter.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important, you know, it gives you motivation, you know, and we all go through disappointments, depression, and whatnot. It's just don't be in the funk too long. Don't be in the funk too long, because
don't be in the funk too long.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, it's, you know, and reach out. I mean, you have so many people that you have reached over time, including myself, and just say, hey, what do you think of this? It doesn't have to be interview, you know, there's so many people that say, hey, you know, what do you think of this? It doesn't have to be on podcast or whatever it is. And, you know, because, you know that, not that you want to compare, but sometimes have gone through that experience or challenges, you know, I went through it. I mean, when I didn't have the Nike contract, it was a big funk that I went through. I mean, growing with family and 8 months without the shoe contract, and, you know, what you can't look at the glass as half full then, you know, it's pretty empty, you know, and, you know, but, you know, somehow, some way I got out of it. But, you know, a lot of your mind plays tricks on you, you know, so you have to, you know.
Let's talk about that for a second with the Nike contract, because that was probably financially very difficult for you. I can
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it was. I mean, imagine, and I didn't get invited to the spring marathon. It was the Boston Marathon. I don't, you know, I didn't even get invited to that. So you make your shoe contract as a runner. You make your shoe contract and appearances. And if you're not in the race, you don't get an appearance. And if you don't have shoe contract, you're not making anything. So I think I had Power Bar at the time, maybe and I did have UCAN, but those were not my biggest deals per se. So yeah, it was frustrating. You know, I prayed, and, you know, and it was tough. It was a really tough time. You know, but I went back to what my God-given talent is. You know, I remember I was running the Highway 395 on a cold January or early February, running in the snow and, you know, on the highway, you know, because, you know, you can drive 40 miles to run, but if you run 8 miles, 10 miles, by the time you drive there, by the time you come, you drive by 80 miles round trip. And the time, so I'm like, if I'm going to run 8 miles or 10 miles, I'm just going to do that at altitude. And if you have to bundle up like so many layers of clothes, and, you know, it doesn't matter if it's 10, 15 degree, you know. But I remember thinking, would I run this even if I wasn't getting paid? I said, absolutely. I mean, that was my God-given talent in 7th grade, you know, PE class. The coach Dick Lord that discovered it. And I said, you know what? Paid or not paid, I'm going to run. I'm going to get the best out of it. I thought about it. I even entered the Boston Marathon on my own and go run there and see, but then I got injured, you know. But you think about those moments. Oh, but it was a difficult time. It really, really. But, you know, thanks to my wife and my brother Howie and Coach Larson, and surround yourself with good people and good team who kind of understand you. But, you know, I reached out to all, you know, including Howie, reached out all the shoe companies, all of them, and some of them say, we'll give you product. Some people say, we're not interested, you're too old. Or some people said, you know, you are too Nike'd up. You've been with them for 12 years and it's kind of hard to break that marketability and things like that. But so there was a lot of no's, a lot of uncertainty, but at the same time, but you can only believe in yourself and the team that you are doing, and work hard, train smart, and do what you can control. If you can control the things you can do, you know, you know, thanks to my wife, we end up doing, what is it called? We, you know, we went from one house and we had San Diego house, we rented out, and then went to Mammoth as full-time, especially with the girls growing, consistency and things like that. So we I'm losing the word, downsize. I guess it's not like downsize house, but we had Mammoth and San Diego. So we had somebody pay rent for the San Diego house, and we have to deal with the Mammoth house. So we made that decision in 2009. So there was, you can get the checks, the things that you think you deserve or will work. But at the end of the day, just be good human being. And amazingly, my career was shot up another level. It was probably the best. Skechers came into the play, and other sponsors came with Maui Gym, and other sponsors came, CEP compression socks, and many other things. I had 11, 13 sponsors eventually, but I couldn't even get one of them to sign up. So, it's a blessing in disguise. It's the best. Sometimes it's the worst time, but it was the best thing that happened in the long run.
Yeah, it's interesting how so many times some people say, like, I was really in like the darkest time, and amazingly things turned out great. Mm-hmm. And that comes up a lot. And I'm definitely interested in that. But sometimes, like, I think to myself, well, we're only hearing from the ones that things turned out great for. There's a lot of people that go through those dark times and it doesn't turn out great. So sometimes, like, I feel like it's not, like you said before, it's not guaranteed that things are going to turn out great. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that you said that I think is really powerful, and something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is you said, would I be doing this if I wasn't getting paid? And I can't remember who I was listening to that said this, but there's a lot of people that throw around kind of platitudes like, do what you do as if you're never going to fail, or do something as if you're never going to fail. And it's like this kind of something that should be on like a motivation poster or something. Like, believe that you're never going to fail. And this person said, no, like, you should do what you're going to do. If you should choose what you're going to do if you knew that that you were guaranteed to fail, because that is the thing that you should be doing anyway. Like, that is the thing that you want to be doing. If you knew that you were going to fail, but you would still do it anyway, that's how you know that it's worth doing. And I think it's interesting you say, would I still be doing this if I knew that I wasn't going to get paid? So would you have, if you knew at the time that you weren't going to win the Boston Marathon and you weren't going to come back and be Meb, like the most loved runner of all time, like, would you have still gone out and done all those miles you did? I mean, I guess you had no idea.
I did, and I will still do it. Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing, Gene, is life is not guaranteed, especially sports is not guaranteed. You are a very talented man. You gotta, work hard and do the best you can for the meantime, and eventually things will turn. You just gotta be you, and as soon as business open up, thanks that people love charities and whatnot. Again, it's gonna happen. It's just not probably this month or maybe next 2 months, but for me, it was that. I mean, I still love to run right now. I love it. I want to do tempos, intervals, but then you got to give me a sense of purpose. The only time after I retired is I did charity. I did that, and I can still have 26.2 miles, but I'm completely happy running 6-7 miles. I don't have to do today. I ran 7 miles or 6.5 miles. I'm completely happy with that. I need to run 26 to be, do I run to run every day? Absolutely. I feel better. I feel a sense of accomplishment. I love, the energy that gives me. I'm an ambassador for multiple sponsors, but at the same time, they didn't tell me go run this amount of miles, or I could be doing cross training, swimming or biking, whatever. But for me, running kind of gives me a sense of purpose. And so I mean, like, to answer your question though, I think I did, and I put those miles without getting paid. And why? There was no guarantee. I don't know if I was going to make another 2 Olympic team. I don't know I was going to win Boston or finish 4th at the Olympic game. I didn't know I was going to help Skechers develop shoes. Those were not in the plans when I was made those decisions. But, when you do things the right way, good things will happen to good people. And I really believe that.
So when you're trying to be in the moment, I've always wondered this about elite athletes. Are you giving yourself a pep talk in the moment? or are you being very tactical in the moment?
I mean, both. I mean, you have to have pep talk. It's like, I can get closer. I think I need to close that gap, or I can be, top 5 or whatever that person. I got to catch the next person before the next mile or whatnot, or I got to measure it, and tactically got to say what expenditure of energy you're saying. Is it now? You don't want to get too emotional when you make an error, because you're not going to make good decisions when you are in the verge of pain and being irrational. But if you take a deep breath, calm down, and then you will rejuvenate. You're going to have more oxygen come to your body. And, same thing with like a 2012 or in Boston 2010, after I was 5th, but I believe that by finishing 5th and running a personal best, I won New York, so I was trying to win the Boston the following spring, and I could have said, it's not going my way. I'm in 5th place. Why is it happening? But you still got to run. You got to have multiple purposes. You love to go for a home run, but you got to have goal A, goal B, goal C, and then ultimately goal D is to finish the finish line. And that goal might help you say, hey, I got the goal B, which I'm happy with, goal C, which I'm content with, but then maybe D is just finish. And you know what? I finished under difficult situations. I was still able to finish, whether it's life or marathon or anything in business and things that are going on. Hey, now I got to think about June. I just want to get through June and the best that I can. And July is going to be a new month, a new beginning. And, sun sets, sun rises, and different day, different situations. And it's not always predictable or have a crystal ball what tomorrow at this time of the day. I don't know where you'll be sitting. I don't know where I'll be sitting. Only, some things can put situations in that predicament, and sometimes I might be here doing a Skype call, which I think I am, but at the same time, I would like to go run, and I don't know what route I'm going to go, how fast I'm going to go. I'm just going to go outside, go run, get started the day in a positive way.
So we got being in the moment, looking down at your jersey, think of the story you want to tell yourself, make sure that you're surrounding yourself with good people. Those are all, I think, very good things that people can be doing right now to help themselves through these challenges.
I would to mirror that is just saying, when people, we're not racing now, we're not maybe running, but look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, how lucky am I today? Or, not everything's perfect. Trust me, including my life. I'm not going to say here and say everything is rosy and as it has been, and it's not. But at the end of the day, it can go south a lot more faster if you don't say, be honest, be real, and be the best that you can. And every day, hopefully, is a progress.
Would love to, if you don't mind, just switching gears here to what we're going through on the Black Lives Matter front. That's obviously another probably should have been foreseen challenge that we should be going through. And just wondering what you would like us to take away from this moment that we're in from a social justice perspective.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the opportunity, but I think with the Black Lives Matter is very important. I think it should have been a long, long time ago. And many people died to get those voting rights, and many people got the equality, as, Martin Luther King said, my kids would like to be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And I got daughters. I want them to be the best they can, but it shouldn't be a hindrance to them, whether they're getting stopped by a cop or I got stopped by a cop. The questions, the first question I get asked is, you have a gun? I don't know if you get that question. Do you get the question, say, can I have your driver's license or registration? That will do first versus, I did Outside Magazine. They did an interview. For those of you that are listening, you can read about it, my impact on it. But, I got stopped and gotten driving DUI tested in Minnesota in the middle of 2:00 after a wedding. I don't drink. I had a Coca-Cola or had I know what my limits are. And I ran that morning. I ran the days before. I had maybe 8 hours sleep, 6 hours sleep, probably 2 days after a race and traveling and then all that stuff. But I was nervous. I get nervous in front of cops because you don't know what. They got the power over you, but to protect and serve, not to instigate. And I try to go by the law and say, hey, whatever it is they want me to do, I'll do it because it's not worth the other side. So it could have gone south many times. And I was running with somebody, which I forgot to mention this at the Outside Magazine is with a buddy of mine in Jacksonville, Florida, and we got pulled over by guard and in the public area. I said, you shouldn't be running here, and asked for our social security, and we got a warning ticket. But guess what? I gave him a false name. So so you got to play the game. But
they were pulling you over for running too fast. They were giving you a speeding ticket.
Was that the case? But no, it's just it's horrific. It's really equal, just as important. Every life matters. But more importantly, at this time, Black lives matters and what I like to tell people is, and there's been some great cops. I'm not going to just say not every cop is bad people, not all Caucasian are bad people. And I've been people who have been Caucasian who helped me build me who I am, including with my coach, Bob Larson, or the Van Camps or teammates and whatnot that helped me be who I am. So my success is not only my success as an African-American or Black person, but I hope, there was a Professor Daly or something from UCLA. He said, you should run for the citizen of the world. This is like 1997 or 98, He saw that vision that I had, that potential could do. And he said, you should run for the citizen of the world. And I hope I have brought people bridges instead of hopefully saying the other way around. And I think that's what running, does, or sport does. As Nelson Mandela said, sports unites us more than anything else does. And that's the power of sports. That's the power of having influential people to kind of be the bridges to be positive influence to people. And, because we're not perfect, God made us all unique and different, but we can always learn from other people's mistake and from our mistake to be a good humankind people.
Yeah, I think I released a podcast this morning with my old advisor from law school, who's the head of the negotiation program at Harvard, and now he's a senior fellow at Harvard Law School, teaches negotiation conflict management. We talked a lot about how sports can bring people together. And I think that's very true about running. That's actually why usually I like to do our podcast on a walk or a run, because I find that, it brings out a different type of a conversation where we're moving in the same direction, we're breathing together, our bodies are in sync, we're sharing that experience together, and we can connect with each other on a more human level. I absolutely agree that sports can bring people together. I'm actually, surprised, and I shouldn't be surprised to hear the ways in which you've experienced the police. And, I think that's hopefully, what you're right. I've never experienced those types of questions from the police. And,
listen,
you kind of are like the citizen of the world.
I was driving 1973 Ford LTD boat, whatever. And then I was driving a Toyota 4Runner on the border check when my brother was supposed to fly to San Diego, but diverted to Ontario, and I have to go pick him up. And the same thing, where'd you get this car? I'm like, I bought it. What else do you get a car from? And then what is this? I think his officer Roger or something. I'm looking at his tag, and this is where do you get the Townsville bag before college? Where do you get that? I'm like, because I graduated from UCLA. So whether you have a bad car or you have a nice car, and you still you're the same person. It's like the Boston Marathon. You can run the Boston Marathon, the same person, the New York City Marathon, the same individual. If they've done the proper training, we should be within a minute or two of each other. But here I'm asking for a gun, if I have a gun in with my position, or where did I get this car? Why? My nurse not supposed to have nice cars? I mean, it's but life is full of surprises. If hopefully they can be. And I've been people who, a little girl who was I think 13 or 14 years old would not shake my hand, and her grandfather is dying of cancer. He gives me a hug. It should be the other way around for anything, but that girl wouldn't shake my hand. And it's like, come on, what are we? This is 2004, by the way.
Wow. She's like the only person in the world that doesn't want to shake your hands. You go to a marathon, there's people like lining up around the corner to shake your hand.
Yeah.
Well, it's clear that we've got a long way to go.
But Frederick Douglass says there's no success without progress. So as long as we make progress, and those progresses are important, and headways, it's a marathon, like you said, is you like it to be 100 meter and say we see the solution in 10, 12 seconds. But, this is whether it's with Black Lives Matters, I don't know what miles we're in, or with the COVID-19, sometimes we might be even training for a marathon, getting ready for the marathon. Marathon is usually a celebratory that we are ready to conquer it. But we might be doing our last long run and getting ready for this battle,
Right. Yeah. So you said there's no success without progress.
Yeah. There's no success without progress.
Maybe the marathon metaphor probably works a lot better for this one, because, you got to get after it every day.
Yep.
You can't just show up on race day. Cool. Well, I really appreciate all this, Meb, taking the time to share this with us. Is there any kind of last things that we didn't cover that you think might be helpful for the time that we're in right now?
Yeah, I think my one advice would be, this is a big injury, an injury that you want to make a comeback slowly. Even when you had ruptured quads or pelvic disc fracture, as a marathon or as a runner, you don't rush into it. You don't go say, I'm going to go run 10 miles. No, even if it means half mile by going outside, you got to do that. And now you have to take all the precautions necessary to, COVID-19, wash your hand, don't touch your mouth and your ears, your eyes, and things like that. It might be saying, hey, we flatten the curve, but you used to still take the necessary cautious to proceed forward, because, it's fresh still. So you don't want to get a rebound, or you don't want to get your family impacted. So still take the protocols that are necessary to be healthy and wise. Very wise.
Thank you, Meb. I really appreciate it. And thanks everybody out there for joining us. Every mile matters. Bye.
Thanks.